All right, I'm baking a pot pie in the oven, and I just heard the oven beep. I ran out and got it, pulled it out. So let's get this. Let's just wrap this up, okay? So the SDR position, what does it do, and why does it matter, and how can you speak to knowing what the SDR position is to either get an SDR job or spend your time educating yourself on what an SDR does? So you can kind of hopefully skip ahead and get a jump start into just slipping into an AE job, even if you haven't necessarily been an SDR before. Just please don't lie in your interviews. Okay, here's an SDR's day. Looks pretty straightforward. It looks like this. Step one, you're going to get either a list of inbound leads or you have to go make a list. So this is where it's important to ask interviewers whether, like what the ideal customer profile is, what is the ICP, what vertical or segment are you addressing or targeting, and are you focusing on inbound leads, going out and finding outbound leads, or both. Okay. Now, regardless, at some point you're going to have a list of accounts. So if you get an inbound, if you're inbound, that means an account's going to come in, okay? You're now going to take that account, you're going to go on LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, ideally, and you're going to research the crap out of that company. You're going to figure out based on the ICP, which probably is more company focused, but if you're having an ICP conversation, then you're also answering the question, who is your target persona? Is it the CIO, CMO, CFO, CEO? Like which business group within your target companies are you selling to? What pain points are you solving for? What is the use case for your solution that a customer will have a business case to want to buy? Okay, so when you identify all of that, you will find that persona on LinkedIn or the closest thing to it. And you're going to build a list. You're going to save all those people, however many. If you're enterprise, it's going to be a big list. It's going to be a complicated list. And you're probably going to have to find 5 or 10 people at least, call, see if you can learn whether you're even in the right place, then make another 10 to 20 people, call them, and work your way to find your decision maker. If you're in the SMB space, it's a lot easier. It's a lot quicker. It's because, like I've said before, you have a direct line to the decision makers, most likely. So you're going to use a LinkedIn to build that list. You're going to take that list of names. You're going to put it in your CRM, which would be like Salesforce, Freshworks, HubSpot, whatever you use. Or you're going to go into ZoomInfo and UpLead. I don't know which one's better. I've only used ZoomInfo because it's the market leader, and UpLead has a pretty compelling story, but I don't know anyone who uses UpLead, so let me know if UpLead's even good. But yeah, we use ZoomInfo. You need that software because that software is going to save you hours of wasted research time. Once upon a time, if you wanted to hustle your way to find your decision maker, you just pick up that phone, you call the main line, and you start figuring out how you can build a relationship. This is from the days when you would send a box of donuts to the receptionist, because if you want favor with the receptionist or the admin or office manager or whoever, you're going to get favor for them to give you the inside scoop on who the decision maker would be for your solution. So now with ZoomInfo, you can just find your persona from LinkedIn, then use ZoomInfo to figure out what their contact information is, assuming they're listed. It's not always the case. And I'm not even going to get into messaging and talk tracks and how to actually penetrate the accounts. But the purpose of this is for you to understand what an SDR does, so you can understand how SaaS technology sells, so that you can speak with competence in an interview and hopefully be able to qualify yourself as a valid candidate when so many tech companies are going to say, you don't have a SaaS background, you don't understand how we work or sell. You're going to be able to solve all that by understanding what an SDR's job is. Okay, so the SDR's job, to reiterate, so far, we take our ICP. We're either looking for those companies or looking for the contacts in LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We write them all down. We put them in our CRM, or we find their data, their contact info in ZoomInfo, and then import that to the CRM tool that we use. And everyone's familiar with a CRM. At some point, you have to have worked with a CRM, even if it was just your Excel spreadsheet that had name, title, contact info, and what company they were in. That's a CRM. I mean, that in itself can be a CRM. So, and I've used many CRMs, everything from even Dynamics and even Monday.com. I even tried their CRM thing. Anyway, so yeah, I've used them all. Salesforce, Freshworks, Freshworks? Yeah, I confuse Freshworks with FreshBooks all the time. FreshBooks is the accounting software. Freshworks is the CRM software. Anyway, you do all that to build your list. And then this is where like the 21st century blew my mind away. I use this, it's just the best tools. SalesLoft and Outreach, they're phenomenal. You take those lists that you just build, and instead of old school like Jeb Blount fanatical prospecting status where you had to handwrite or type out in Excel the name and the phone number next to them, build a massive list, and then just start smiling and dialing and type out notes next to their name, now you can just import all that junk into SalesLoft and Outreach. It integrates with your CRM tools, so everything you do in SalesLoft and Outreach just automatically pushes to your records in your CRM tool. And right there, like on the dashboard, it pulls up all the names and phone numbers, and you can dial from within their software. So you just click dial, goes to your headset, and you just go bam, 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 one name after the other, and you can build your list, start cold calling like a champ. For those of you who've worked in SaaS most of your career, or for those of you young bucks who are learning how to do this for the first time, I'm that old, and I'm 29 years young right now at the time of this video. I'm old enough to where I had these old school smile and dial like template sheets on Excel, and like sometimes even just printed them out as a PDF because it just made more sense. Like, I'm old school prospecting for being a millennial, and that's how phenomenal these tools are. You can just pound out your outbound outreach. So when you're doing that, then here's the kicker for an SDR. This is where the job stops. You do all your outreach. You go through all your cadences or sequences or whatever you want to call them, where basically you call, you email, hit them on LinkedIn, whatever. You do multiple touch points. And if you want to hear the metrics, I'll just say it. Ideally, you're doing 17-ish points of touch points, like in your sequence, between 12 to 20 maybe realistically. And remember, this all assumes they don't connect with you. Like, they don't reply, they ignore you. You should probably get to like step 12 or 20, somewhere in there, by the time you're just like, I'm out. So you generally have like maybe 4 or 5 phone calls, 8 to 10 emails, and then maybe 3 or 4 LinkedIn touch points. Now that doesn't add up to 20, but my point is like, that those are kind of the numbers that we all shoot for in the SDR world. I might be wrong. And there's a whole outreach pitches it hard. It's the best way to look at it. Look up outreaches or the Agogi sequence, I think it's called, that they call it. It's awesome. It's the way that I've always modeled now, or at least now structure my outreach efforts, regardless of whether I'm inbound or outbound. It's a great methodology to follow. If you understand that, you understand the SDR's role. But the big thing that they tell you as an SDR is to make sure that you're not necessarily playing dumb, but you're going to refuse to give more information than the customer needs. You're hyper-focused to just determine or qualify whether or not someone is interested in learning more about the product, whether they even have a project that is live where they are considering buying. The moment you get that, you just jump on it. You end your conversation. You're like, hey, that's great. I want to learn. Let me ask a few questions. I want to make sure we have a tailored demo to your needs. Why don't I connect you with our AE? They can take you through a demo. They can help you understand whether this solution really is the right fit. But my only role is to make sure you feel equipped with our resources, or that you understand and help us understand kind of what we're all trying to solve for. Now that we're on the same page, I'm going to put you in touch with an expert. That's the SDR's function. In a nutshell, that's like my speed way of getting through how an SDR sells. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about how the SDR hands off to an AE, and that should about cover this super rapid mini series on breaking into SaaS sales and understanding why SaaS sales is different from non-tech sales.